Chapter 1. The Awakening. The moment you remember who you are, there comes a moment in life when the noise of the world no longer satisfies you. When the chase for approval, success, and possession suddenly feels empty. When you realize that no matter how much you have achieved, something essential is still missing. That moment is the beginning of the awakening. It doesn't happen in a flash of light or a divine vision. It happens in the silence, in the quiet realization that you are not the person you thought you were. You are not your name. You are not your body. You are not your past, your roles, or your fears. You are the consciousness that perceives all of it. The awakening begins the moment you stop identifying with the story of me and begin to observe it with clarity. The you that is aware, the one who listens to thoughts but is not defined by them, that is your true essence, eternal, limitless, untouched by time. Most people never reach this understanding. They live their entire lives defending an identity built by the mind, chasing shadows and illusions, and wondering why peace never comes. But you are starting to see through the illusion. You are beginning to remember who you are. At first, it's disorienting, as if the ground beneath your feet has disappeared. But soon a quiet power rises within you, a deep knowing. I am not what happens to me. I am the awareness in which it happens. That realization changes everything. It's such like waking up from a long dream and realizing that the dream was never your true home. The world doesn't step change. Your perception does. And in that shift, you find the first glimpse of freedom. The awakening is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning. It starts the call to return to yourself, to strip away everything false, and to rediscover the infinite being that has always lived within you, the one who was never born and who will never die. Chapter 2. The Illusion of Separation, the Great Forgetting. From the moment you were born, the world began to teach you how to forget who you are. It gave you a name, a nationality, a religion, a history, a set of invisible labels that shaped the cage of your identity. You learned to say, "This is me," when in truth, it was never you. You were taught to look outside for meaning, for love, for validation, for purpose. You learned to believe that happiness depended on something external: money, recognition, success, acceptance. And so began the great illusion, the illusion of separation. The mind created a world divided between you and them, mine and yours, good and bad. It built walls of thought and belief and called them reality. But the truth is simple and eternal. There is no separation. Every atom in your body was once part of a star. Every breath you take was once shared by trees, oceans, and strangers. The same life that beats your heart flows through all beings, seen and unseen. You are not a fragment lost in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself through human form. This is what the great teachers tried to tell us, that the pain of humanity comes not from lack, but from forgetting our unity with all things. We suffer because we believe ourselves to be alone, when in truth, we are one consciousness, dreaming of separation. The moment you understand this, something breaks inside, a fragile illusion, a veil dissolving into light, and you begin to see that every person you meet is another reflection of yourself, playing a different role in the same infinite dance. When you hurt another, you hurt yourself. When you love another, you awaken yourself. Because there is no other. This realization is liberation. You no longer need to compete, compare, or control. You simply flow with the rhythm of life, knowing that everything unfolds in divine timing. The illusion of separation was never real. It was the dream you entered so you could remember your power. Now that you have begun to awaken, the game changes. You stop searching for God in the sky and start recognizing the divine within all things. In your breath, in the eyes of a stranger, in the silence between your thoughts. Because the great secret has always been this: you were never separate. You were only dreaming that you were, and now the dream is ending. Chapter 3. The Law of Mind, the Hidden Architecture of Reality. Everything you see, touch, and experience begins first in the invisible realm, the realm of thought. Every building, every invention, every revolution, every empire that has ever existed was once a single idea in the mind of someone who dared to believe. The mind is not a passive observer of reality. It is the architect that designs it. Most people live unaware of this truth. They believe the world happens to them. They react, complain, hope, but never realize that the source of their experiences is the vibration of their own thoughts. Your mind is the workshop of creation. It is where the blueprint of your life is drawn, and the universe simply mirrors what you project within. This is the law of mind. Whatever you think about with emotion, you begin to attract. Whatever you focus on with faith, you begin to create. Your outer world is nothing but a reflection of your inner frequency. If you constantly think of scarcity, you so live surrounded by lack. If you cultivate gratitude and abundance, opportunities will appear effortlessly, as if the universe were conspiring in your favor, because it is. The law of mind operates with mathematical precision. It doesn't judge or discriminate. It simply reflects, like a perfect mirror, that sits while your thoughts are sacred. Each one is a command. Each one carries energy that builds or destroys. When you think, you are shaping matter. When you feel, you are vibrating energy. When you believe, you are giving life to creation itself. The wise don't chase reality. They design it. They know that the mind is not confined within the brain. It's a field of consciousness connected to everything that exists. It reaches beyond time and space, influencing outcomes before they even unfold. This is why your inner dialogue matters more than any external action, because every thought sends ripples into the invisible field, and those ripples return as experiences. So the question is not, why is this happening to me? But, what energy did I send out that created this? Once you understand this law, you stop being a victim of circumstances and become a conscious creator. Reality bends to the mind that knows its own power. Every miracle begins with one thought. What if I can? Feed that thought with emotion. Sustain it with belief, and reality will reshape itself to match your inner vision. The law of mind is not a secret. It's a remembrance. A truth as old as existence itself. What you hold in mind, you hold in your hand. Your thoughts are the tools of creation. And now that you know this, you are no longer dreaming. You are building. Chapter 4. The Power of Desire, the spark that ignites creation. Every great creation begins with one thing: desire. Not a passing wish, not a vague preference, but a burning, consuming, unshakable fire within your soul. Desire is the heartbeat of creation. It is the invisible spark that turns thought into matter, and imagination into form. Nothing exists without it. Every discovery, every masterpiece, every fortune was first fueled by someone who wanted deeply enough to create it. The universe responds to intensity. It does not listen to weak wishes or idle daydreams. It listens to the frequency of obsession, that sacred hunger that refuses to die, that vibration that says, I will find a way, or I will create one. Desire is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. It is how the infinite speaks through you, whispering, expand, become, create. But most people fear desire. They are taught that wanting is selfish, that ambition is greed, that one should settle for less. That belief is the reason most lives remain small. Desire is not the enemy of the spirit. It is the spirit, longing to express itself through matter. When your desire is aligned with purpose, when it is born not from ego but from the soul, it becomes a force of divine expansion. This is why suppression leads to suffering. Every unexpressed desire becomes energy trapped within you, and what is not expressed eventually destroys. So the key is not to repress your desire, but to refine it. Let your desire be pure, not for status, not for control, but for creation, for growth, for the joy of becoming. Once that fire burns within you, it begins to reshape your vibration. Your thoughts sharpen, your focus intensifies, your actions gain momentum. You begin to attract circumstances, people, and ideas that align with that inner flame. Because desire, when combined with belief, creates magnetism. The weak may call it luck. The wise call it alignment. Every empire begins in the same place, the mind of someone who refused to let the fire die. So what is the desire that burns in you? The one that keeps whispering even when you try to silence it. That is not random. That is your soul calling you to expansion. Feed it, protect it, honor it, because the moment you say yes to that inner fire, the entire universe begins to rearrange itself to make it real. Desire is not the enemy. It is the divine spark of creation itself, the whisper of infinity saying, "You were born to create more." Chapter 5. Faith, the alchemy of the invisible. There comes a moment when logic fails, when all visible evidence contradicts your dream, when nothing seems to move, and yet something within you whispers, "Keep going." That whisper is faith. Faith is not belief without reason. It is the recognition that reality begins before the evidence appears. It is the inner knowing that the unseen is more real than what the eyes can show. Everything you can touch was once invisible. Every structure, every invention, every movement of destiny began as vibration. A thought held with faith long enough to condense into matter. Faith is the bridge between imagination and manifestation. It is the alchemy that transforms energy into form. When you hold faith, you become a co-creator with the universe. You command the unseen forces of reality to obey your vibration. But faith is not easy. The world trains you to trust what you can measure, to believe only what you can see. And yet everything seen is temporary. Everything unseen is eternal. The eyes show illusion. The soul knows truth. Faith is the soul sips vision. When doubt surrounds you, faith stands still. When fear screams, faith whispers, "I know who I am." Faith does not need proof. It creates proof. The greatest miracles are born from hearts that refuse to let go when everything said impossible. That is the secret of every master, every prophet, every creator. They trusted the unseen longer than anyone else. Faith is magnetic. It pulls the invisible toward you. The stronger your conviction, the faster reality reshapes itself. Because faith is not only belief, it's frequency. It changes the vibration of your being, and the universe mirrors that vibration back to you. So when you pray, believe it's already done. When you visualize, feel it is real now. When you walk as though the promise is already fulfilled. That is the essence of creation. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you believe. Faith is the purest form of energy, the language the universe understands. The mind doubts. The heart knows, and when the heart decides, reality follows. There is a law written into existence. It shall be done unto you according to your faith. So do not beg life to change. Command it with conviction. Do not hope weakly. Get no. Faith is the fire that keeps creation alive, even in the darkest night. And when your faith becomes unshakable, the invisible bends to your will, because faith is not waiting for the miracle. Faith is the miracle. Chapter 6. The Art of Allowing. Letting the universe flow through you. After desire and faith comes the most subtle power of all, allowing. Allowing is not weakness. It is mastery. It is the state of absolute alignment with the flow of life. When you allow, you stop forcing outcomes. You stop trying to control the universe with tension and fear. You understand that creation does not happen through resistance, but through surrender. Allowing is not giving up. It is trusting the intelligence that moves galaxies, knowing it also moves within you. The ego says, I must make this happen. The soul says, I will let it happen through me. That is the difference between struggle and flow. The river does not push to reach the ocean. It simply moves, guided by the invisible pull of gravity, trusting that every turn, every stone, is part of its path. So it is with your life. When you cling to control, you block the natural rhythm of creation. You contract your energy, and the universe mirrors that contraction with stagnation. But when you relax, when you breathe deeply and release expectation, you open the channel again. The energy flows, ideas appear, synchronicities align, people show up. Allowing is the art of cooperation with the infinite. The masters of manifestation do not fight the current. They become it. They live in a state of receptive awareness, where inspiration replaces struggle and action flows effortlessly from alignment. This is not passivity. It is conscious flow. It means acting when you feel the impulse and resting when the energy retreats, trusting that both movement and stillness serve the same divine rhythm. The universe doesn't respond to anxiety. It responds to clarity and calm. When you allow, you vibrate in harmony with the higher order of creation. That is when miracles appear, not because you forced them, but because you stopped resisting them. Let life surprise you. Let the universe exceed your plans. Let go of the need to know how or when. Your task is not to manage the process, only to hold the vibration of what you desire. Everything else unfolds naturally. Remember, the seed doesn't dig its way to the surface. It simply allows the light to do its work. You are that seed, and the light of the universe is always shining upon you. Surrender to it. Trust its timing. Allow its power to move through you. Because the art of allowing is the highest form of creation. The moment when you stop trying to be the universe and finally become one with it. Chapter 7. Energy, the invisible currency of the universe. Everything in existence is made of energy. Every thought, every emotion, every word you speak is a vibration moving through the infinite field of consciousness. You are not a solid body. You are a frequency, a symphony of light condensed into matter. The universe doesn't understand language. It understands vibration. It doesn't respond to what you say, but to what you emit. That is why your energy is your true currency. The poor in spirit are not those who lack money, but those who lack energy, those who live drained by fear, judgment, and resentment. Meanwhile, the rich are those whose energy expands with joy, gratitude, and creation. Your life is a mirror, reflecting the frequency you broadcast. If you feel heavy, everything around you slows. If you radiate love and purpose, the universe accelerates to match your light. Everything is energy exchanging energy. Every relationship, every opportunity, every coincidence is an energetic transaction. When your vibration is high, you attract experiences that match that level. When it sets low, you meet reflections of your own limitation. It's not punishment, it's resonance. Energy follows attention. Whatever you focus on expands. If you give energy to lack, you multiply lack. If you give energy to abundance, you multiply abundance. This is why gratitude is not just a moral virtue. It's a vibrational technology. It instantly shifts your frequency from scarcity to expansion. Energy is life itself. To master it is to master reality. You don't just have to chase success. You have to match its frequency. When you do, success cannot avoid you, because everything you desire already exists on a certain vibrational channel. Your task is not to create it, but to tune in. You are the transmitter and the receiver. The signal you emit through thought, emotion, and belief creates the movie you call your life. If you don't, it's like what you stare watching. Done is fight the screen. Change the frequency. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the energetic cause of them. And when you begin to treat energy like the currency it is, you stop wasting it on worry, on gossip, on regret, on fear. You start investing it in creation, clarity, and peace. Your energy is the only wealth that cannot be stolen, only given away. Guard it, elevate it, expand it, because the more energy you hold, the more reality bends in your favor. This is the secret that sages, alchemists, and mystics have always known. The universe does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are, vibrationally. So rise in energy. Think higher. Feel lighter. Live brighter. Because energy is the invisible gold of existence, and you are its infinite source. Chapter 8. Emotions, the compass of the soul. Your emotions are not enemies to be controlled. They are messages from your soul, the purest language through which consciousness speaks to you. Every emotion is energy in motion. It moves through your body like a river, carrying information about the alignment between your thoughts and your truth. When you feel joy, peace, love, or excitement, it means your vibration is in harmony with your higher self. You are moving with the current of creation. When you feel fear, anger, sadness, or despair, it is not punishment. It is guidance. It means that somewhere within, you are thinking against yourself, moving away from your essence. Most people misunderstand this. They repress emotions, bury them beneath distractions, and pretend to be fine. But emotions that are suppressed do not disappear. They sink deeper, crystallizing into the body as tension, illness, or fatigue. What you resist persists. What you embrace transforms. To master your emotions is not to silence them, but to listen to them, to let them rise, speak, and then dissolve in awareness. The sadness says you've forgotten your connection. Anger says your boundaries have been crossed. Fear says you are about to expand beyond your comfort. Joy says you stare aligned. Every emotion is sacred. Each one is a compass pointing you toward greater clarity. When you live consciously, you stop labeling emotions as good or bad. You see them for what they are: energy passing through you, seeking to be understood. Imagine your emotions as waves. You cannot stop the ocean, but you can learn to surf. That is emotional mastery, not resistance, but flow. And when you flow, emotions become allies instead of enemies. They show you where your vibration truly stands. The more you honor what you feel, the faster you realign with your higher frequency. Because emotion is feedback, the real-time signal of your connection to Source. Ignore it, and you drift off course. Listen to it, and you return to the center. This is the great secret. Your emotions are not obstacles on your spiritual path. They are the path. Every tear, every burst of laughter, every tremor of fear is consciousness learning to recognize itself. When you stop judging what you feel, you free the energy locked inside it, and that energy becomes fuel for creation, for clarity, for evolution. So don't run from your emotions. Invite them in. Ask them what they come to teach you, because the soul never stops speaking, and emotion is its voice. Chapter 9. The Mirror Principle. Life reflects what you are. Life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Every experience, every person, every circumstance is a mirror, a reflection of your inner world projected onto the screen of reality. The universe doesn't send random events. It reflects your vibration, your beliefs, your hidden emotions. This is the mirror principle. What you love in others is the part of yourself you've learned to embrace. What you reject in others is the part of yourself you refuse to see. The people who trigger you most are not your enemies. They are your teachers. They reveal the wounds still unhealed, the fears still unacknowledged, the judgments still unresolved within you. When you react strongly to something outside of you, it's because it has found a resonance inside of you. Nothing external can disturb your peace unless it finds something within that agrees with it. So the work is never out there. It sits always in here. When you change your inner frequency, the outer mirrors change automatically. That is why spiritual growth is not about fixing the world. It's about seeing it differently. The mirror principle is mercilessly honest. It will show you your deepest patterns again and again until you recognize them and heal them. The same situations, the same faces, the same frustrations, repeating like a loop until awareness breaks the cycle. Once you see the pattern, you are free, because nothing controls you anymore. You no longer blame. You no longer resist. You understand that everything is simply reflecting your state of being. A peaceful mind creates a peaceful world. A fearful mind creates chaos. A loving mind transforms everything it touches. That is the power of perception. You are the projector, not the screen. So if you don't set like the movie, you don't just fight the characters. You change the film inside the projector. The moment you take full responsibility for your vibration, you reclaim your power, and life begins to mirror your light instead of your wounds. You start meeting people who match your growth. You attract experiences that align with your peace, and everything that no longer resonates quietly fades away. Because the universe has only one law when it comes to reflection: you cannot experience what you are not vibrating. Life is your mirror. It does not lie. It does not punish. It simply shows. And once you understand that, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this showing me about myself?" That question changes everything. Because the moment you stop fighting the mirror, you finally begin to see your own light shining back at you from everywhere. Chapter 10. Healing, returning to wholeness. Healing is not about fixing what is broken. It is about remembering that nothing ever was. You were never damaged. only disconnected from the truth of who you are. What you call wounds are simply places where light is waiting to enter. They are not signs of weakness, but invitations to return home. The body heals when the mind stops attacking it. The heart heals when it is finally allowed to feel. The soul heals when it remembers its own perfection. Healing does not come from effort. It comes from allowing. You cannot force a flower to bloom. You can only create the right conditions for it to open. In the same way, you cannot force your healing. You can only create the inner space for it to unfold naturally. That space is made of love. Love without condition, without judgment, without demand. True healing begins the moment you stop saying, "Something is wrong with me," and start whispering, "Everything is returning to balance." Pain is not your enemy. It is the messenger that tells you where love is needed most. Instead of resisting your pain, ask it what it has come to teach you. Behind every emotional wound lies a lesson in compassion. Behind every illness lies a request for presence. Behind every heartbreak lies the expansion of love. You do not heal by going backward, but by bringing light to where darkness once lived. That is what it means to return to wholeness, to gather all your forgotten parts and hold them in the arms of awareness. Healing is not becoming something new. It is remembering what you have always been. Complete, pure, infinite consciousness, having a temporary human experience. The world will try to convince you that healing means erasing pain, but true healing means integrating it. The scar does not mean the wound failed to heal. It means the light has taken its place. Forgive yourself. Forgive the past. Forgive even the idea that something was ever wrong. The moment you accept everything as it is, a deep peace settles in. The war ends. The heart opens. And in that silence, you realize that you were never sick. You were only remembering your own power to love. That love is the medicine. It always was. When love fills every corner of your being, the illusion of separation dissolves, and healing becomes not an event, but a state of existence. Because the truth is simple, you do not heal to become whole. You heal because you already are. Chapter 11, Forgiveness, the liberation of the soul. Forgiveness is not something you do for others. It is something you give yourself to break the chains of the past. As long as you hold resentment, you remain tied to what hurt you. Your energy stays trapped in the memory, feeding the very pain you wish to escape. Forgiveness is not saying what happened was okay. It is saying, I refuse to let what happened define me any longer. It is the act of cutting the energetic cord that keeps your soul bound to suffering. You forgive, not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Every wound you carry is a story that asks to be rewritten, and forgiveness is the pen that gives it a new ending. When you refuse to forgive, you continue the story of pain. When you forgive, you end it. But forgiveness is not forgetfulness. It is clarity. It is seeing the truth behind the illusion. Those who hurt you were acting from their own wounds, their own blindness, their own disconnection. They could not give you what they never learned to give themselves. When you understand this, your heart softens, not because you approve, but because you see. You see that we are all children of the same consciousness, learning through mistakes, falling and rising in the same eternal dance. Forgiveness is wisdom. It is the understanding that holding on to pain does not punish the other. It poisons you. Anger, resentment, revenge, they are heavy frequencies. They block the flow of life through your being. They keep you anchored in what no longer exists. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is light. It lifts you above the storm. It opens your heart again to life, to love, to peace. When you forgive, you reclaim your power. You stop being the victim of a story and become the author of your freedom. It is not always immediate. Sometimes forgiveness comes slowly, layer by layer, as you shed the pain that once felt inseparable from who you were. But even the intention to forgive begins the healing. Because forgiveness is not weakness, it is the ultimate act of strength. Only the powerful can release what has already consumed them. And once you forgive, you are free, not only from the past, but from the illusion that anyone ever had power over your peace. You realize that the person you most needed to forgive was never them. It was you, for forgetting your own light. Forgive yourself for not knowing then what you know now. Forgive yourself for staying too long, for trusting too deeply, for carrying pain that was never yours. And when you do, you will feel something extraordinary. A weight lift, a breath deepen, a silence bloom within you. That silence is freedom, because forgiveness is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a new one. Chapter 12. Love, the ultimate frequency. Love is not an emotion. It is the essence of existence itself. Everything you see, everything that moves, everything that breathes, is held together by the vibration of love. It is not something you find, nor something you fall into. It is what you are. Love is the frequency of creation. It is the original light from which all forms emerge, the invisible glue that binds every soul to the whole. When you vibrate in love, you align with the highest intelligence in the universe. Your thoughts become clear, your body heals, your life harmonizes. Because love is coherence, the perfect rhythm between you and the cosmos. But humanity has forgotten this. It has reduced love to emotion, to possession, to need. We say, "I love you," when what we truly mean is, "I need you to complete me." That is not love. That is dependence. Love does not imprison. It frees. It does not demand. It allows. It does not cling. It expands. True love has no opposite. Fear is not its enemy. Fear is its absence. The moment you remember that love is not something you give or receive, but something you embody, you become a portal of light in this world. Every thought of kindness, every act of compassion, every silent prayer of peace, is love expressing itself through you. Love is not weak. It is the most powerful force in existence. It dissolves hatred, transcends death, and bends reality itself. It cannot be contained because it is infinite. It cannot be destroyed because it is the source. When you love, truly love, you align with the creative power of the universe. You become unstoppable, not because you fight, but because nothing can stand against that vibration. Every enlightened being that has ever walked the earth spoke the same truth in different words. Love is the key. Love is the law. Love is God. Love sees no separation. It recognizes itself in every face, in every soul, in every heartbeat. The moment you see the divine in another, you have already begun to awaken. And when you begin to love without reason, without expecting, without needing, you transcend the human condition and return to your natural state of being. Love is the cure for every disease, the end of every conflict, the answer to every question, because in the presence of love, everything false dissolves. When you are in love, not with someone, but with existence itself, you live in constant gratitude. You no longer chase, you attract, you no longer fear. You flow, You become a radiant field where others remember their own light. That is what it means to be love. It is not an act. It is a frequency, and it is the one frequency that never dies. Because in the end, only love is real. Everything else is a shadow, waiting to return to it. Chapter 13. The Ego, the Mask of Separation. The ego was born the moment you believed the thought, "I am separate." From that moment, a character began to form. A false identity built from memory, comparison, and fear. It called itself you, but it was never you. The ego is the mask that consciousness wears to experience limitation. It is the voice in your head that says, "I am this and not that. I must protect myself. I must be better, richer, safer." Its purpose is survival, not truth. It builds walls to feel secure, but those walls also isolate. The ego fears silence because silence reveals its illusion. It fears stillness because stillness exposes its fragility. That is why the ego constantly seeks noise, distraction, validation. It needs to be seen to exist. It feeds on comparison, the endless measuring of self against others. It thrives on division, the constant judgment of good and bad, right and wrong, to mine and yours. And yet, despite all its chaos, the ego is not your enemy. It is simply a tool, a temporary interface between infinite consciousness and the human experience. The problem is not the ego itself, but identification with it. You are not the mask. You are the light shining through it. The ego says, "I am what I have." The soul whispers, "I am that which cannot be lost." The ego says, "I must be loved." The soul says, "I am love." The ego says, "I must control." The soul says, "I trust." Every time you listen to fear, you strengthen the ego. Every time you choose awareness, you dissolve it a little more. The awakening is not the destruction of the ego. It is the transcendence of it. You stop fighting it and start observing it with compassion. You see its patterns, its need to dominate, its insecurity hidden behind pride, its craving for recognition, and you smile because you finally understand. It was never evil, just afraid. The ego is like a child who got lost in a dream, believing it had to survive alone. But now, you are awake. You can take its hand and lead it home. When the ego is healed through awareness, it becomes your servant instead of your master. It helps you navigate the world without making you forget who you are. That is the true mastery. Not to kill the ego, but to put it in its rightful place. A mask worn lightly by the infinite self behind it. And when you no longer identify with the mask, life becomes a dance. You can play any role, but you never forget the actor beneath. You can win or lose, rise or fall, love or let go, and still remain at peace. Because the ego is temporary, but you are eternal. Chapter 14. The mind, the servant, or the master. The mind is one of the greatest tools in the universe. It can build worlds or destroy them. It can heal or divide, enlighten or enslave. The difference lies in who commands it. When the mind serves the soul, it becomes a channel of brilliance, a bridge between the infinite and the material world. When the mind believes itself to be the master, it becomes a prison. The mind was never meant to lead. It was meant to translate, to turn spirit into language, intuition into form, vision into action. But humanity has forgotten this. The mind has taken the throne, declaring itself king of reality. It wants to control everything, the outcome, the timing, the path. It wants to understand the infinite through the limits of logic. And so it suffers, because the mind was designed to measure, not to know, to analyze, not to see. The soul knows through silence. The mind knows through thought. The more you identify with the mind, the more noise fills your being. And in that noise, the voice of truth is drowned. The mind loves repetition. It feeds on the familiar, even when the familiar causes pain. It fears the unknown, because the unknown cannot be controlled. That is why it clings to old patterns, old wounds, old identities. It would rather be miserable in the known than free in the mystery. But the moment you begin to observe the mind, something miraculous happens. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the one watching them. That is the beginning of freedom. When you watch the mind without judgment, it starts to calm, like a storm losing power. Once it realizes it no longer frightens you, you don't fight the mind, that you outgrow it. The mind is a servant. It should obey the direction of your higher self, not dictate it. Let it plan, let it organize, let it create, but never let it rule. Because the mind sees only fragments, the soul sees the whole. When you live from the mind, you live in tension. When you live from awareness, you live in flow. The mind thinks. Awareness knows. The true master uses the mind as an artist uses a brush, deliberately, gracefully, and with detachment. Once you reclaim your position as the observer, the mind becomes a powerful ally again. It helps you create, but it no longer dictates your reality. And in that quiet mastery, you find peace. Because the mind was never your enemy. It was waiting all along for you to remember who commands it. When the mind serves the heart, clarity returns. Purpose awakens, and life becomes what it was meant to be, a symphony directed by the soul. Chapter 15. Silence. The gateway to the infinite. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of eternity. It is the space between thoughts, the stillness behind movement, the awareness that watches all things come and go. You can live your entire life surrounded by noise and never truly hear silence, because silence is not found in the world, but within you. It is not reached through effort, but through surrender. The moment you stop chasing, arguing, defending, the silence emerges, as if it had been waiting for you all along. In silence, the mind dissolves. The boundaries between you and the universe blur. The I disappears, and what remains is pure consciousness. Infinite, peaceful, alive. Every great revelation, every timeless truth was born in silence. The masters did not discover enlightenment in noise, but in the stillness of presence. Because silence is the language of the divine. God does not speak in words. He speaks in vibration, in light, in silence. When you enter that silence, you begin to feel life breathing through you, not as something separate, but as you. The rivers flow in you. The stars burn in you. The wind moves because you are aware of it. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. But the mind cannot hear this truth, because it only speaks in sound. Silence is the realm of the soul. It is the doorway to the infinite. To enter it, you don't have to go anywhere. You only have to stop running away from yourself. Sit, breathe, listen, not to the world, but to the stillness behind it. At first, you will hear the noise of the mind, the thoughts, the worries, the constant motion. But if you remain still, you will notice something deeper beneath them. A vast, eternal quiet that has always been there. That is you. You are the silence in which everything happens. And when you rest in that awareness, fear dissolves, time fades, and death loses meaning. Because silence is beyond birth and death, it is the timeless witness of both. When you touch that space, you realize that nothing is missing. Nothing needs to be added. You have always been whole. Silence is not emptiness. It is fullness, so full that there is no room for desire, no room for fear. It is the womb of all creation. Everything that has ever been was first conceived in its depths. To dwell in silence is to remember the origin of existence. It is to merge with the heart of God. And once you have heard that silence, you can never be the same, because you have touched the infinite, and it has touched you. Chapter 16. The present moment, the only real time. Time is an illusion created by the mind to measure change. It divides eternity into past and future, and in doing so, blinds you to the only thing that truly exists. Now, the present moment is all there has ever been. It is the constant backdrop of every experience. Everything else, memory and expectation, is imagination. The past no longer exists except as thought. The future has not yet arrived. Only this moment is real. And yet, most people spend their entire lives anywhere but here. They replay what has already happened, or worry about what might come, never realizing that both are illusions. The mind lives in time. The soul lives in eternity. To awaken is to remember that eternity is not endless duration. It is infinite presence. When you return to the now, you step out of the dream of time. You stop being a prisoner of what was or could be, and you finally live. The present is not a moment in time. It is the absence of time. It is the eternal stillness beneath all motion, the silence beneath all sound. Every joy, every miracle, every insight can only happen here. Now, if you can find peace in the present, you once did find it anywhere else, because peace doesn't exist in circumstances. It exists in awareness. The mind says, I feel be happy when. The heart says, I am happy now. The mind runs ahead, always chasing. The heart is still, always receiving. This is why enlightenment is simple. It is not something you reach after years of effort. It is what remains. When you stop escaping this moment, the now is God sips home. It is the portal through which you meet eternity. And every time you breathe consciously, you enter that sacred space again. Notice how the mind tries to escape the present. It says this moment is not enough. It wants more. It wants next. It wants control. But the soul knows there is no next. There is only this. And this right now is complete. When you are fully present, everything slows down. Colors brighten. Sounds soften. Life stops being something you chase and becomes something you are. Presence is power. It aligns you with the intelligence that moves galaxies, heals wounds, and creates worlds. When you live in the present, you live in truth. You no longer age. You unfold. You no longer wait. You flow. And in that flow, you discover what eternity truly means. Because eternity is not endless time. It is this moment fully lived. There is nowhere else to go. There never was. You have always been here, in the only time that exists. Now, Chapter 17. Awareness, the light behind the mind. Awareness is the silent witness of all things. It is the screen upon which every thought, emotion, and experience appears. It is not the movie, it is what allows the movie to be seen. Most people mistake themselves for the movie. They say, I am this story, these emotions, this body, but the truth is far deeper. You are not the content of awareness. You are the awareness itself. Everything you experience, joy, sorrow, fear, love, comes and goes. But what never leaves is the one who perceives it all. That is you, not the you with a name, but the eternal presence behind it. Awareness has no beginning and no end. It was there before you were born. It will remain long after the body fades. It does not grow old. It does not suffer. It does not change. It simply observes, calmly, silently, eternally. You may think, but I am thinking right now. Isn't that me? No. The mind is thinking, and you are aware of it. That awareness is who you truly are. Thoughts are clouds. Awareness is the sky. Sometimes the sky is clear, sometimes full of storms, but it is never touched by the weather that passes through it. The same is true for you. Your emotions may rage, your thoughts may race, your circumstances may shift, but the awareness behind it all remains untouched, truer and still. The great mistake of humanity is identifying with the clouds instead of the sky. When you identify with awareness, suffering loses its grip. Because pain may visit you, but it cannot own you. You no longer say, I am sad. You say, sadness is passing through me. That simple shift in perception is the beginning of liberation. Awareness doesn't sit resist. It doesn't set judge. It doesn't cling. It simply is. And in that beingness, you discover peace beyond understanding. Even when the mind screams, awareness listens quietly. Even when the world burns, awareness remains unshaken. That is your true nature, the silent light behind all experience. Once you rest in awareness, life becomes effortless. You no longer fight reality, you witness it unfold. Action still happens, but it flows through you, not from you. You become the open space, through which existence expresses itself freely. And in that space, you realize the greatest truth of all. You were never the person in the story. You were always the consciousness watching the story unfold. You are the eternal witness, the light behind the mind, the eye behind the eyes, the silence behind every sound. That awareness is not something you reach. It's what you've always been. You just forgot to notice. Chapter 18. The Body. The Temple of Consciousness. Your body is not a cage for your spirit. It is its temple. It is the sacred vessel through which consciousness explores matter, the living bridge between heaven and earth. Every cell in your body is made of stardust, woven from the same fabric as galaxies. The atoms that form your hands, your bones, your blood, they once burned in ancient stars. You are the cosmos made visible, a universe expressing itself as a human form. Your body is not separate from your soul. It is the soul made tangible. To honor your body is to honor the divine within you. To neglect it is to forget that the infinite chose this form, to experience itself through your senses, to see, to touch, to taste, to feel. The body is the instrument through which the symphony of life is played. If you ignore it, the music distorts. If you care for it, the song becomes pure. Your body listens to your thoughts. Every emotion has a physical echo. Fear contracts the muscles. Love relaxes them. Joy releases endorphins. Anger floods the bloodstream with fire. Your body is not separate from your mind. It is its reflection. That is why true healing cannot come from medicine alone. It must come from alignment, from harmony between thought, emotion, and physical form. Your body speaks to you in sensations. Pain is not betrayal, it is communication. Fatigue says rest. Tension says, let go. Hunger says, nourish me. Most people have forgotten how to listen. They treat the body as a machine to be forced, instead of a friend to be understood. But when you reconnect, when you breathe consciously, when you move with awareness, you begin to hear its wisdom again. The body is incredibly intelligent. It knows how to heal, how to balance, how to renew. It asks only for your cooperation, for you to stop working against it. Every time you honor your body, you honor the universe that built it. Every time you breathe deeply, you align with the rhythm of creation. Your heartbeat is not random. It is the echo of cosmic order, a reminder that even within flesh, you are still infinite. So move with love, eat with gratitude, rest with reverence. Treat this body not as a burden, but as a sacred home, because the divine does not live somewhere far away, it lives in you. Your body is the temple where God experiences the world. Take care of it as you would take care of something holy. For the spirit and the body are not two. They are one movement, one vibration, one breath. When you live with that awareness, that you no longer see your body as imperfect. You see it as sacred art, the living proof that consciousness desired to touch itself. And in that realization, you fall in love again, with existence, with presence, with this miracle of being human. Chapter 19. Death, the doorway to continuation. Death is not the end. It is a transition. It is the moment when consciousness withdraws from form, like a wave returning to the ocean. Nothing truly dies. It only changes shape. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only transform. And you, at your core, are pure energy. The body may return to dust, but the awareness that once looked through its eyes cannot fade. It is not born, and therefore it cannot die. Death only frightens those who believe they are the body. To the awakened, death is simply the continuation of life, in another dimension of being. Just as sleep is a temporary pause in the waking dream, death is a pause in the earthly one. You awaken again, not in another place, but in another state of consciousness. The essence that you are has traveled through countless forms. You have been everything. The child and the elder, the teacher and the thief, the saint and the sinner. Each life, each body, each story is a page in the infinite book of your evolution. When one chapter ends, another begins, and death is simply the turning of the page. There is no punishment waiting for you, no eternal judgment, only truth, the truth of your own vibration reflected back to you. In that moment of transition, you see your life not as a series of events, but as a symphony. Every joy, every sorrow, every mistake, revealed as a perfect note in your soul's awakening. You do not face a judge. You meet yourself, the self that has always been beyond form, watching every incarnation with love and patience. Death is not darkness. It is light too bright for the human eyes to see. When you cross that threshold, the fear dissolves instantly, because you realize you never left home. The same consciousness that animates your breath now is what continues after the last one. You simply shift perspective. Those who have gone before you are not gone. They exist in the same field of consciousness that you will soon remember as your origin. When you feel their presence, it is not imagination. It is resonance. Love never dies. It only changes frequency. Death teaches us the most sacred truth of life, that nothing belongs to us. and yet nothing can ever be lost. You do not need to fear death once you understand it. You only need to live so fully that when it comes, it finds nothing left unlived. To die consciously is to release the body with gratitude, like a traveler returning home after a long and beautiful journey. And when you do, you will see that what you called life was only one breath in the infinite lungs of eternity. There is no end, only transformation, only return, because consciousness is the sea, and you are its wave. You rise, you fall, you merge again, and that merging is not death. It is continuation. Chapter 20. The Soul Sip's Journey. Lessons through lifetimes. The soul is eternal. It travels through countless forms, countless lives, gathering wisdom from every experience. Each lifetime is a classroom, each relationship a mirror, each challenge a teacher. You are not here by accident. You chose this incarnation, its time, its place, its body, its lessons. Before you were born, you saw the tapestry of your evolution. You understood what needed to be learned next, what energies still sought balance, what patterns awaited transformation. And so you came, not to suffer, but to remember your power, your compassion, your divine nature. The soul does not judge. It experiences. It does not see failure. It sees growth. From the Soul Sip's perspective, pain and joy are equally sacred, for both awaken understanding. Every lifetime adds another thread to the great weaving of your consciousness. Each one refines you, polishes you, draws you closer to the essence of who you truly are. Sometimes souls travel together for many incarnations, playing different roles each time. The one who was your mother may become your child. The one who was your lover may return as your friend. Even your enemies are sacred companions, helping you learn forgiveness, strength, and clarity. There are no random meetings. Every connection is a continuation of something ancient. Karma is not punishment. It is education. It is energy-seeking resolution. It repeats until harmony is restored. You are not trapped in karma. You are guided by it. Once you understand the lesson, the cycle ends. Life will keep bringing you the same themes, in new disguises, until you finally respond with awareness instead of reaction. That is liberation, when the pattern ends and the soul evolves. The purpose of every incarnation is not perfection. It is expansion, to become more conscious, more loving, more aligned with the source from which you came. And when you complete the lessons of a life, you return to the realm of light, to rest, review, and prepare for the next journey. There you are greeted not with judgment, but with understanding. You see the beauty of your story, the courage it took to walk through pain, the grace it took to love again after loss. You are surrounded by souls who have walked with you through eternity, each one playing their part in your awakening. Then, when your essence calls for more experience, you descend again, into time, into form, into forgetfulness, to remember once more who you are. And so the cycle continues, not as punishment, but as evolution, as the eternal heartbeat of consciousness, expressing itself through infinite lives. You are not a human being seeking a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being, exploring what it means to be human. And through every lifetime, every lesson, every rebirth, you are not moving away from home. You are finding your way back to it. Because the journey of the soul has only one destination: to remember itself as God. Chapter 21. Synchronicity, the language of the universe. Nothing in your life is random. Every event, Every encounter, every coincidence, is a piece of a vast design, a conversation between you and the universe. That conversation is called synchronicity. It is how the infinite communicates with you in the language of signs, symbols, and timing. A song that plays at the perfect moment. A stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear. A number that keeps appearing again and again. A delay that leads to the very opportunity you were meant to find. These are not accidents. They are messages. The universe whispering, you set aligned, keep going. Synchronicity is not about luck. It is about resonance. When your energy matches the frequency of your purpose, the outer world rearranges itself to reflect that alignment. The right people appear, doors open effortlessly, time bends, because the universe is not separate from you. It is responding to you. Every time you follow your intuition, you tune into this language, and the more you trust it, the louder it speaks. But the mind often dismisses these signs. It says that's just coincidence. It wants logic. It wants control. Yet the soul knows better. It feels the truth behind the timing. It recognizes the invisible pattern connecting everything. Synchronicity is the proof that life is conscious, that the universe is alive and aware of you. It's us not trying to test you. It's us trying to guide you. When you begin to see every event as part of your awakening, the ordinary becomes miraculous. You realize that even delays, detours, and disappointments are not mistakes. They are redirections. The universe is never late. It is precise beyond measure. Every twist in your story is synchronized with divine intelligence. There are no coincidences in a holographic universe. Every particle, every thought, every heartbeat is entangled with everything else. When you raise your vibration through gratitude, presence, and love, you start to align with this grand orchestration. Life begins to move in rhythm with your inner truth. You meet the right teacher at the exact moment you're ready. You stumble upon the book that changes your life. You take the path that looks uncertain, only to find it was destiny disguised as chance. The universe is not silent. It is always speaking, through numbers, dreams, feelings, symbols. To understand it, you must quiet the noise of the mind and listen with the heart. The language of the universe is subtle but unmistakable. It speaks in energy, in flow, in timing. When you are aligned, you no longer ask for signs. You become one, because synchronicity is not happening to you. It is happening through you. You are the bridge between the visible and the invisible, the dreamer and the dream. Every moment is a dialogue with the infinite, and every coincidence is a reminder that you are exactly where you need to be. Trust the rhythm, follow the flow, and know you are never off the path. The path is you. Chapter 22. Intuition. Intuition is the whisper of the soul, the gentle knowing voice beneath the noise of thought. It does not argue. It does not shout. It simply knows. Intuition is not learned. It is remembered. It is the natural language of consciousness, the direct communication between you and the infinite. Before you had words, you lived by intuition. You felt when something was right or wrong, safe or dangerous, true or false. But as you grew, the world taught you to trust logic instead of instinct, to value proof over presence, to silence the quiet voice within. And yet, intuition never left you. It only waits for you to listen again. It speaks through sensations, a pull in your chest, a sudden peace, a quiet unease. It doesn't instead explain. It guides. It doesn't just analyze, it reveals. The mind asks, why? The soul whispers, this way. Intuition is the GPS of your higher self. It already knows where you set meant to go, because it sees beyond time. To follow it is to align with the path of least resistance, the one that leads you not to comfort, but to growth, to purpose, to truth. Every time you ignore your intuition, you feel it, that subtle tension, that inner resistance, that whisper saying, you know this isn't set right. And every time you follow it, life flows, doors open, synchronicities appear, peace returns. Because intuition is the bridge between your human mind and your divine intelligence. It connects you to the field of infinite knowing, where everything is already understood. The more you listen, the louder it becomes. The more you trust it, the clearer it gets. The key is silence. Intuition speaks in stillness, not in noise. You can't hear it when you're rushing, worrying, or doubting. But in calm awareness, it's unmistakable. It speaks through dreams, through symbols, through random inspirations that arrive out of nowhere, yet carry the unmistakable weight of truth. It is the sudden feeling to call someone, to take a different path, to wait one more day, only to later discover it was perfect timing. This is how the universe communicates, not through reason, but through resonance. To live by intuition is to live in trust, to walk without seeing the whole road, but knowing each step is guided. The mind fears uncertainty. The soul knows it is the only way to grow. When you follow intuition, you align with the flow of destiny. You stop trying to force outcomes and start allowing divine order to unfold. You realize that guidance has always been within you, not outside, not in books, not in others, but in the quiet voice you carried all along. That voice is never wrong, because it is not separate from the source. It is the source. Listen, trust, act. That is the art of living guided by the soul. Chapter 23. Purpose, the calling of the soul. Every soul is born with a purpose. Not a career, not a title, not a goal, but a frequency. Purpose is not something you find. It is something you remember. It subs the vibration that lives deep within you, the silent knowing that says, this is why I came. Your purpose is the unique way the universe expresses itself through you. It's not limited to what you do. It's just the energy behind it. You can live your purpose in every act, from painting to parenting, from teaching to listening. Purpose is not the form, it's the state of being you bring into it. When you live aligned with your purpose, you feel it. There is this clarity, there is this flow. There sets that quiet joy that says this is right. When you live against it, everything feels heavy, forced, dull. Your soul came to experience something specific, to expand in a certain direction, to master a certain vibration. Maybe it came to learn unconditional love, to create beauty, to inspire others, to awaken truth. Whatever your calling is, you've felt it. That recurring whisper that never leaves. The dream you can quite forget. The spark that lights up when you speak about what you love. That sets your purpose trying to speak to you. But the world teaches you to chase what's profitable, not what sips meaningful. To follow reason, not resonance. And so many forget. They trade purpose for security, and then wonder why they feel empty. The truth is, your purpose is not a destination. It's a direction. It unfolds as you walk it. You don't need to know the whole path, just the next step that feels alive. When you honor that step, life reveals the next. Synchronicities appear. Support arrives. The way opens. Because the universe moves with power when you move with purpose. Your purpose is not chosen by you. It's chosen through you. It is the divine intention that created your soul. And when you live it, you don't just feel fulfilled. You become a conduit of creation itself. Everything begins to align. Your relationships, your work, your opportunities, they all start to serve your higher calling. Even challenges transform. They stop being obstacles and become tools for refinement. Because purpose is not comfort, it is growth. It will ask you to stretch, to let go, to trust the unknown. It will break every false identity until only truth remains. That's why purpose and awakening are one and the same. To know your purpose is to remember who you are. And when you live from that knowing, you no longer chase meaning, you become it. Every breath, every act, every word becomes sacred. Because when you are aligned with your purpose, you are aligned with the will of the universe. And in that alignment, you are unstoppable, not because of effort, but because existence itself moves through you. So stop searching, start listening. The purpose you have been chasing has always been waiting inside you, in the place where joy and peace meet. That sips your compass. Follow it, and you will live not just a life, but a calling. Chapter 24. Creation. The power to shape reality. You are not a spectator of reality. You are its creator. The universe is not something happening to you. It is something happening through you. Every thought, every emotion, every belief sends a vibration into the field of existence, and that vibration returns to you as experience. This is not metaphor. It is law. Reality is not solid. It is fluid, responsive, alive. It mirrors your inner state with absolute precision. That is why two people can live in the same world and yet experience completely different realities. Because reality is not objective. It is personal resonance. Creation begins in the invisible. You think it, you feel it, you believe it, and then it appears. The mind is the sculptor. Emotion is the clay. Faith is the fire that solidifies the form. Whatever you hold within with intensity and clarity must eventually express itself without. The universe has no choice. It is obedient to your vibration. This is the true meaning of being made in the image of God. You are a creator, not a beggar. You do not need to plead for what you desire. You need only align with it. Most people try to change reality by force, by fighting, pushing, resisting. But creation does not respond to force. It responds to frequency. You cannot attract abundance while vibrating lack. You cannot experience love while radiating fear. You cannot live in peace while feeding chaos. The outer world only echoes your inner one. So creation is not about effort. It is about alignment. Be the vibration of what you want, and it must come to you. Think of life as a mirror. If you smile, it smiles back. If you frown, it reflects that too. Most people stand before the mirror and demand that it smile first, but the mirror only reflects. The moment you change your energy, the reflection changes instantly. That is how creation works. It is not magic. It is the science of consciousness. Every thought is a seed. Every feeling is water. Every belief is sunlight. Together they grow the reality you live in. So ask yourself, what seeds am I planting today? What emotions am I watering? What beliefs am I giving light to? You cannot harvest what you have not sown. You cannot reap peace from fear. You cannot grow freedom from control. Creation begins with awareness. When you become conscious of your inner state, you reclaim the brush that paints your world. From that moment on, life stops being random. You start to see the connection between your thoughts and your experiences, between your vibration and your reality. And then something extraordinary happens. You stop feeling powerless. You stop waiting for miracles and realize you are the miracle. To create consciously is to live as the universe intended, as a divine artist shaping existence with love and intention. Everything you desire already exists in potential. It is waiting for your signal, the signal of belief. When you align thought, emotion, and action, reality bends, doors open. The invisible becomes visible. You are not here to wish. You are here to create. So create boldly, create beautifully, create with love, because every creation is a reflection of the Creator, and the Creator is you. Chapter 25. Abundance, the natural state of the universe. Abundance is not something you chase. It is something you remember. You were born abundant. Look around you. Life itself is overflow. There are no limits in creation. The ocean does not measure its waves. The stars do not ration their light. The trees do not count their leaves before growing. Nature expresses without hesitation, without fear of running out. Because lack does not exist in truth, it exists only in the mind. The universe is infinite energy in motion, constantly expanding, constantly creating. You are a part of that flow. Abundance is your natural rhythm. Scarcity is a distortion, a product of fear, of separation, of forgetting who you are. When you believe in lack, you vibrate against the current of life. You close the door to the infinite supply that is already around you. But when you remember your true nature, when you align with gratitude and trust, the flow returns. Abundance is not a privilege. It is a law. It does not depend on effort or struggle. It depends on alignment. Money, opportunities, and success are forms of energy. They follow vibration, not logic. They are drawn to expansion, not desperation. The more you give, the more you receive, because giving affirms that you already have. The miser vibrates in fear and loses even what he clings to. The generous vibrates in trust and multiplies without trying. The universe mirrors your belief. If you believe in lack, it agrees. If you believe in abundance, it agrees too. So abundance begins with thought. It is not something to earn. It is something to embody. When you feel grateful for what you have, you expand your vibration to match more of it. When you complain about what you lack, you contract your energy and block the flow. Gratitude is the key. It opens every gate of creation. The rich are not those who have more. They are those who feel more. They live in a constant dialogue with the universe. I am grateful, and the universe replies, then here is more to be grateful for. This is not about possessions. It's about awareness. Because abundance is not what you hold in your hands. It's what you hold in your heart. You can have everything and feel poor. You can have nothing and feel infinite. True abundance is a state of consciousness where you see the sacredness of everything, the sunlight on your skin, the breath in your lungs, the love in your heart. From that vibration, material abundance naturally follows, not as proof of worth, but as expression of alignment. The universe loves expansion. It rewards flow, creativity, generosity, joy. It cannot give to a closed hand, but it floods the open one. So open your heart, open your hands, let go of fear. You do not need to chase what is already yours. You only need to remove the walls that block its flow. The infinite has always been within you. You are the abundance you seek. Everything you desire is not coming to you. It is coming through you. When you vibrate in abundance, you become a channel of the universe's generosity. You stop asking for blessings and start becoming one. Because abundance is not about having, it is about being open, being grateful, being infinite. Chapter 26. The Law of Balance. Harmony between worlds. The universe exists in perfect balance. Every movement, every vibration, every event is part of a sacred equation that maintains harmony between all things. This is the law of balance. Night follows day. Inhalation follows exhalation. Life and death, expansion and contraction, rise and fall, all are two halves of the same divine breath. Nothing in the cosmos exists without its complement. Every force has its counterforce, not as opposition, but as equilibrium. When one side grows too dominant, the other rises naturally to restore harmony. That is why extremes cannot last. They collapse back into balance. The same law governs your inner world. When you push too far in one direction, toward control, desire, or fear, life gently, or sometimes harshly, pulls you back toward the center. Suffering is not punishment. It is correction. It is the universe whispering, "You have drifted from the middle." Balance is not stagnation. It is movement in rhythm with the whole. It is the dance between doing and being, action and surrender, will and flow. Most people live in imbalance. They chase success but neglect peace. They nurture the mind but starve the soul. They give endlessly but never receive. And then they wonder why life feels chaotic. The secret is not to eliminate one side, but to harmonize both. Work but also rest. Give, but also allow yourself to receive. Speak, but also listen. Act, but also trust. That is how you align with the universal rhythm. The masters of life are those who walk the middle path. They do not swing wildly between extremes. They move with calm precision, like the pendulum at the center of time. They know that imbalance creates distortion, and distortion creates suffering. When you return to balance, you return to truth. Your emotions calm, your mind clears, your intuition strengthens, your body heals. Because harmony is health, alignment is peace. The universe is not asking you to choose between matter and spirit, between ambition and surrender, between self and others. It is asking you to find the point where all things meet, the point of unity. That point is within you, the sacred center, the stillness from which all opposites arise. When you live from that center, you stop seeing duality as conflict and begin to see it as balance, light and shadow completing one another. You realize that both joy and pain serve your evolution, that both giving and receiving sustain the flow of love, that both birth and death are part of the same eternal heartbeat. The law of balance is not moral, it is natural. It operates whether or not you believe in it. To align with it is to move in grace. To resist it is to invite chaos. So when life pulls you back, when it slows you down or shifts your path, do not curse the change. Recognize it as the hand of balance, restoring harmony to your vibration. Everything seeks equilibrium. Everything returns to center. That is how the universe stays whole. And when you find your own center, you too become whole again, a living embodiment of cosmic balance. Chapter 27. The Art of Detachment, Freedom Through Letting Go. To master life, You must master the art of letting go. Detachment is not indifference. It is freedom. The understanding that nothing in this world truly belongs to you, because nothing here is permanent. You came into this life empty-handed, and you will leave the same way. Everything you hold, every possession, every relationship, every title, is borrowed from time. The ego clings, but the soul flows. Clinging creates suffering. Flow creates peace. When you cling, you try to hold the river still. When you let go, you become the river. This is the art of detachment. To love without possession, to live without fear, to act without attachment to the result. The Buddha called it the end of suffering. The sages called it liberation. Modern minds might call it inner peace. Whatever the name, it is the same truth. Freedom begins where attachment ends. Attachment says, I need this to be happy. Detachment says, I am happiness itself. Attachment fears loss. Detachment knows there is nothing to lose. This does not mean you stop caring. It means you care without chains. You can love deeply, but when love is pure, it does not bind, it uplifts. You can desire, but when desire flows from your higher self, it inspires without enslaving. To live in detachment is to walk through life with open hands. You welcome what comes. You bless what stays. You release what leaves, because you trust that what is meant for you can never truly be lost. The universe always replaces what departs with something aligned with your evolution. The mind wants control. It believes that letting go means losing power. But the truth is the opposite. Control is weakness disguised as strength. Letting go is strength disguised as surrender. When you let go, you stop resisting life. And when resistance ends, energy flows again. You cannot receive what sips next, while clinging to what tap's gone. That sips why endings are sacred. They are the universe clearing space for your next beginning. When you lose something or someone, don't it's collapse. Expand, breathe, honor the lesson. Release with gratitude. Everything that leaves you takes with it what you no longer need. Detachment doesn't mean coldness. It means clarity. It means loving from the soul, not from fear. When you are attached, love says, I need you. When you are free, love says, I see you. One imprisons, the other liberates. Detachment is not about renouncing the world. It's about no longer being enslaved by it. You can still enjoy beauty, success, and love, but you know they are experiences, not your identity. The ocean does not cling to its waves. It allows them to rise and fall, knowing it remains the same underneath. You are that ocean. Everything else is the tide, coming, going, teaching you to stay centered in what never moves. When you live in that awareness, you find peace in impermanence. You stop fearing change. You start trusting life, because letting go is not loss. It is liberation. And when you finally release everything, you discover that nothing was ever missing. The whole universe remains within you. Chapter 28. Gratitude. The key to expansion. Gratitude is the vibration of abundance. It is the sacred bridge between what you have and what you desire. To be grateful is to align with the truth that life is already giving you everything you need to evolve. Gratitude is not simply saying thank you. It is a state of consciousness, a frequency that opens every door in the universe. When you are grateful, you expand. Your heart opens. Your energy rises. You become magnetic to all that matches your vibration, because the universe always multiplies what you appreciate. When you give thanks for what you have, you tell life, I see your blessings. And life replies, then here is more. But when you complain, you tell life, I am blind to your gifts. And life says, then I will wait until you can see again. Gratitude transforms perception. It turns the ordinary into the miraculous. It reveals beauty where the mind saw nothing. The person who practices gratitude no longer lives in lack. They live in wonder. You can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. You can be grateful and angry at the same time. Gratitude and love share the same frequency, and both dissolve darkness instantly. Start with the simplest things. The air you breathe, the warmth of light, the beating of your heart. Each breath is a gift. Each moment, a miracle. The ego says, I still be grateful when I get what I want. The soul says, I am grateful because I already have everything I need. And from that awareness, you begin to attract even more, not through effort, but through resonance. Gratitude is a magnet for miracles. It aligns you with the creative intelligence of the universe, which always seeks to expand itself through joy, through appreciation, through love. Even pain can be met with gratitude, not for the suffering itself, but for the wisdom it brings, for the strength it awakens, for the clarity it carves within you. Gratitude does not deny difficulty. It transforms it. It takes what was once a wound and turns it into wisdom. When you begin each day in gratitude, you shift your entire vibration. Life starts to cooperate with you. People respond differently. Paths open. Peace deepens. Because you have chosen to see abundance, not absence. Gratitude is the root of joy. It is the seed of faith. It is the key to expansion, because whatever you appreciate, appreciates. Try this truth. Even now you have more blessings than problems. You have more love than fear. You have more light than darkness. And when you focus on that, you begin to live from fullness instead of need. That is when life stops being something you chase and becomes something you celebrate. Every moment becomes sacred. Every breath becomes prayer, because gratitude is not the result of happiness, it is the cause of it. And when you live in constant gratitude, you realize that heaven was never a place. It was a state of awareness, right here, right now. Chapter 29. Service, the highest expression of love. True service is not sacrifice. It is love in motion. It is the soul recognizing itself in another and saying, how can I help you remember who you are? Service is not about doing good to earn worthiness. It is about sharing what already overflows from within. When love becomes so full that it can no longer stay contained, it expresses itself as service. You don't serve to be holy. You serve because you've realized you already are. Every act of genuine service is the universe healing itself through you. When you lift someone, you are not giving from your excess. You are channeling infinite energy from the source that moves through all. That's why true service never depletes you. If it drains you, it sets not service. It sets obligation. Real service nourishes both giver and receiver, because in truth, they are one. When you give from ego, you expect recognition. When you give from the soul, you expect nothing, and yet you receive everything. You receive joy, connection, peace, the sacred knowing that you have fulfilled your purpose in that moment. Service is not limited to grand gestures. It can be a smile, a kind word, a moment of presence. Sometimes the smallest act of love is enough to change the course of someone's entire day or their life. To serve is to say yes to life, to become an instrument through which the divine can act. Every time you choose compassion over judgment, understanding over pride, giving over indifference, you are serving the evolution of the world. You are adding light to the collective field. You are participating in the healing of humanity. True service is not about hierarchy. It is not I help you because I am above. It is I see you because I am you. There is no giver and receiver, only love flowing through 2 points of awareness. That flow is sacred. It is the pulse of the universe. When you live in service, life itself begins to serve you. Doors open, synchronicities increase, and abundance multiplies, because the universe always supports what supports others. Service is the highest form of abundance. The more you give, the more the infinite can move through you. Your hands become the hands of the divine. Your words become prayers. Your presence becomes medicine. The ego asks, "What do I get?" The soul asks, "How can I give?" And in that giving, the soul discovers the greatest secret of all. That service is not the loss of self, but the expansion of it. When you serve, you dissolve the illusion of separation. You feel the unity that underlies all beings. You realize that helping another is simply helping yourself in another form. That is why the greatest joy comes not from what you take, but from what you give, because giving is the natural language of love, and love, in its highest expression, is service. Chapter 30. Compassion. The heart of awakening. Compassion is the fragrance of awakening. It is what blooms naturally when the heart remembers its unity with all life. Compassion does not pity. It understands. It does not judge. It embraces. It looks into the eyes of another and sees itself. When you awaken, you realize that every being, even those who harm, even those who hate, is acting from pain, from ignorance, from forgetfulness. Compassion is not weakness. It is strength beyond comprehension. The strength to love even when it hurts, to forgive even when the mind says you cannot. It is the courage to keep your heart open. In a world that teaches you to close it, the ego wants to punish, the soul wants to understand. Because the soul knows there is no other, there is only the one, wearing countless faces, learning through each of them. When you look at someone suffering and feel moved to ease it, that is compassion remembering itself through you. It is the divine recognizing the divine beneath the illusion of separation. Compassion is not about fixing others. It is about being present with them in their humanity. Sometimes, the greatest act of compassion is not to offer advice, but to simply sit in silence and let another soul feel seen. When you hold space for someone's pain without trying to change it, you remind them that they are not alone. And in that presence, healing begins. Because love heals not by doing, but by being. The world does not need more saviors. It needs more hearts willing to feel. When your compassion extends even to those who oppose you, you begin to transcend duality. You no longer see enemies, only consciousness learning through conflict. This is the heart of awakening, to see all life as yourself. The child crying, the stranger struggling, the one who hurt you. Each one is part of the same whole, discovering itself through experience. Compassion turns suffering into wisdom, anger into understanding, pain into power. It is the alchemy of the heart, and like all true alchemy, it begins within. You cannot offer compassion to others until you have offered it to yourself. Forgive your mistakes. Embrace your imperfections. Be gentle with the parts of you still learning. The way you treat yourself sets the standard for how you treat the world. When you love yourself completely, you stop projecting your wounds onto others. You stop seeing enemies outside because you have made peace inside. That peace radiates outward. It softens voices. It dissolves division. It transforms conflict into connection. Compassion is not a virtue to practice. It is your true nature revealed. When the mind becomes still, when the heart opens, compassion flows effortlessly, like light through clear water. And in that flow, you understand what awakening truly is. Not escaping the world, but embracing it completely. Seeing the divine in every being, loving even the shadow, healing through presence. That is compassion. That is awakening. That is love remembering itself as you. Chapter 31. Forgiveness. The liberation of the soul. Forgiveness is not about others. It is about you. It is the release of the weight that keeps your heart from flying. To forgive does not mean to condone. It does not mean to forget. It means to set yourself free from the prison of resentment. When you refuse to forgive, you chain yourself to the past. You keep reliving the wound, reopening it every time you remember. You think you are protecting yourself, but you are only hurting yourself again and again. Forgiveness is the decision to stop suffering twice. It is not weakness. It is power. It takes great courage to say, "You no longer have power over my peace," because forgiveness is not about what happened. It is about who you choose to be despite it. Every hurt is an invitation to grow beyond the story of victimhood, to step into the vastness of your true nature. You cannot control what others do, but you can always choose how you respond. That choice is freedom, and freedom is the essence of forgiveness. The mind resists it. It says they don't deserve it. But forgiveness is not for them. It's for you. It's the act of reclaiming your energy from the past that no longer exists. It's thus the closing of a chapter, so your soul can continue its journey unburdened. When you forgive, you align with love instead of pain. You shift from reaction to awareness. You stop feeding the fire of anger and begin to heal from within. Forgiveness is not a single moment. It's such a process, a gentle peeling away of layers of hurt until only compassion remains. Sometimes it takes time, and that's okay. Healing does not rush. It unfolds. But even the intention to forgive sets powerful forces in motion. The universe responds to your willingness to release. And the more you let go, the lighter you become. Until one day, you look at the person who once hurt you and feel nothing but peace. Because Yusuf remembered the truth. They were not the enemy. They were a mirror, showing you where love was missing within yourself. Forgiveness is not the end of justice. It is the beginning of freedom. It does not erase accountability. It releases attachment. It says, "I free you not because you are right, but because I no longer need to carry this pain." And in that moment, the chains break. The heart expands. The soul breathes again. Forgiveness is the highest form of healing because it restores your connection to love. And love is the true nature of your being. Without forgiveness, the past rules the present. With forgiveness, the present becomes eternal. So forgive everything, yourself most of all. Forgive your failures, your regrets, your mistakes. You did the best you could with the consciousness you had at the time. And now you know better. Now you are free. Forgiveness is not the end of the story. It is the moment your soul begins to write a new one. It is not the closing of a wound. It is the opening of your wings. Forgive, release, and fly. Chapter 32. Faith, trusting the invisible. Faith is not belief without evidence. It is trust without conditions. It is the quiet knowing that even when you cannot see the path still exists. Faith begins where logic ends. It is not blindness. It is vision beyond sight. To live with faith is to walk with the unseen, to surrender control, and rest in the intelligence that moves all things. You may call it God, the universe, source, or life. It does not matter. Faith is the bridge between you and that infinite presence. When you have faith, you no longer demand answers. You live in trust. You understand that not everything is meant to be understood, only experienced. Faith is not passive. It is active surrender. It is the courage to move forward. Even when the destination is hidden, the mind says, I shall trust when I see. Faith whispers, you shall see when you trust. Faith is the language of creation. The universe responds not to your doubt, but to your certainty. Every miracle ever witnessed was born from faith, from someone who dared to believe in something beyond evidence, beyond reason, because faith is not waiting for proof. It is the realization that the proof is you, the awareness capable of believing before seeing. The seed does not demand to see the flower before it grows. It simply trusts the sun, the soil, and the unseen design. That is faith in action. The same force that turns seeds into forests and stars into galaxies is guiding your steps too. You do not need to know how. You only need to trust that life knows. When you have faith, fear begins to fade, because fear is the belief in chaos, and faith is the recognition of order. The moment you choose trust over doubt, your vibration changes, and the world around you rearranges in response. Faith opens doors that effort could never reach. It moves mountains not by strength, but by resonance. Because the universe mirrors what you hold within. When you hold certainty, certainty manifests. When you hold fear, fear is reflected back. This is why faith is not naive. It is powerful. It reclaims your connection to the source of all creation. It says, I may not understand the storm, but I trust the ocean. Faith does not protect you from challenges, but it transforms how you move through them. You stop seeing obstacles as punishments and start recognizing them as guidance. Every delay, every detour, every ending is faith testing its roots within you, asking, will you trust even now? And when you say yes, even trembling, the entire universe bends to meet your courage. Because faith is the vibration of alignment. It is the signal that tells creation, I am ready, I trust, let it unfold. When you live with faith, you no longer wait for certainty, you become it. You walk not by sight, but by light. And that light, the invisible current carrying you forward, has always been there, waiting for you to let go and trust it. Faith is the art of remembering that the unknown is not your enemy. It is your home. So step into it, trust it, and let the invisible show you what was always real. Chapter 33. The Divine Plan, Order Within Chaos. Nothing in the universe happens by accident. Even what seems random, unjust, or chaotic is part of a perfect design, too vast for the human mind to fully grasp. This is the divine plan, the silent intelligence guiding all things toward balance, evolution, and remembrance. From the smallest grain of sand to the birth of stars, everything follows sacred order. The same intelligence that turns night into day, as seasons into cycles, and chaos into creation, moves through you right now. In every breath, every heartbeat, every coincidence, you are not outside of the plan. You are the plan unfolding in human form. When life seems to fall apart, it is not because the universe has lost direction. It is because you are being realigned with what you came here to become. Chaos is not disorder. It is transformation in progress. A caterpillar may see the cocoon as destruction, but to the divine it is the blueprint of flight. So too, when parts of your life collapse, when people leave, when paths close, understand, the universe is not taking from you. It is rearranging everything to match the frequency of your next evolution. The human mind sees fragments. The divine mind sees the whole. From above, what seems like chaos from below reveals itself as perfect symmetry. The pain you resist today often becomes the wisdom that guides you tomorrow. The detour that frustrates you often becomes the doorway to destiny. Nothing is wasted. Nothing is meaningless. Every event, every meeting, every delay is a thread in the tapestry of awakening, and every soul plays its part, some as teachers of love, others as mirrors of pain, all as instruments of your growth. When you understand this, you stop fighting life. You begin to trust its timing. You realize that the divine plan is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Surrender is not giving up. It is giving in to the greater intelligence that knows far more than you ever could. The ego says, this shouldn't be happening. The soul says, this too is part of the plan. Even your mistakes are not deviations. They are lessons built into the design. Because the plan is not linear. It spirals. It leads you in circles, only to bring you back higher than before. You are guided even when you feel lost. You are protected even when you feel alone. You are being shaped by forces of love you cannot yet comprehend. So when life feels chaotic, pause, breathe. Remember that order still exists. You just can see it from where you stand. The universe is not in chaos. It is in motion, and that motion always leads back to harmony. Trust that, because someday you will look back and see the beauty in what broke you. You will understand why it had to happen that way, why it could not have been otherwise. And in that moment, you will smile through tears and whisper, it was all perfect, because it always was. Chapter 34. Awakening, remembering the One. Awakening is not the gaining of something new. It is the remembering of what has always been true. It is the moment when the dreamer within you realizes that it has been dreaming all along. You are not awakening to something. You are awakening from something, the illusion of separation, the belief in being a fragment instead of the whole. From birth, you were taught to say, I am this name, this body, this story. But none of those are truly you. They are costumes worn by consciousness to experience itself in different forms. Awakening is when the actor looks in the mirror and remembers, I am not the role. I am the one playing it. The universe awakens through you, just as the ocean awakens through its waves. The wave may forget it belongs to the sea, but the sea never forgets. When you awaken, you see that every being, every star, every sound is the same consciousness looking through different eyes. There is no you and me, only I am. That is the great remembering. The ego fears awakening, because awakening is its end. The moment you see through the illusion of I and other, the ego loses its ground. But what remains is not emptiness. It is everything. Awakening is not a peak moment. It is not light flashing or visions unfolding. It is the deep, silent recognition that all you were seeking was never missing. You do not reach awakening. You relax into it. You stop chasing enlightenment and notice that awareness was always here, watching every rise and fall. The trees, the wind, the faces of strangers all begin to shimmer with the same presence you feel within. You realize you have never been alone because there is no other to be alone from. The same light that beats your heart moves the galaxies. The same consciousness that breathes you is dreaming the stars. Awakening is not a personal achievement. It is the dissolving of the personal. It does not make you special. It makes you simple. You stop trying to be someone and rest in being itself. From that stillness, love flows naturally, not as emotion, but as recognition. You look at another and see yourself, the same awareness behind different eyes. Compassion arises without effort. Peace appears without search. Because the war within has ended, you no longer cling to what comes or fear what goes. You simply watch, and in that watching, you find eternity. Awakening is not the end of the journey. It is the beginning of living as truth. The dream continues, but now you know it as a dream, and that knowing makes it beautiful. You can still laugh, love, cry, create, but you are no longer lost in the play. You are the sky, watching the clouds of existence pass, and in that awareness, everything becomes sacred. Every sound, every movement, every breath is the divine speaking to itself. That is awakening, not escaping the world, but seeing the world as God. Seeing yourself as God, not the distant deity of religion, but the living presence behind every heartbeat, behind every word, behind every silence. Awakening is the final remembering that the one never left. It only dreamed of being many. And now as you awaken, you whisper to yourself, I was never lost. I was only pretending to be. Chapter 35. Unity. The return to oneness. There was never separation, only the illusion of it. Unity is not something to reach. It is what has always been. You were never apart from the whole, only asleep to your belonging. The moment you awaken, the veil dissolves, and you see that all things, every person, every star, every breath, are made of the same light. This is the great paradox. You have always been one, and yet you had to forget to remember it fully. You had to wander through duality so you could understand the beauty of unity. You had to lose yourself so that you could fall in love with being found. In truth, there is no you and me, no here and there, no now and then. All are waves in the same ocean, rays from the same sun, notes from the same song. When you see this, you stop fighting the world, because you realize there is no world outside of you. Every face you meet is another version of yourself, learning, seeking, remembering. Unity is not sameness. It is harmony. It is the realization that every difference is part of the same divine design. Just as a symphony needs many instruments, the universe needs many perspectives to know itself completely. Light and dark, joy and sorrow, birth and death, they are not opposites. They are partners in creation. Everything completes everything. Nothing stands alone. You cannot separate the wave from the sea, the sunbeam from the sun, or the soul from the source. Unity is the essence behind all existence, the silent heartbeat of God pulsing through all life. When you live from unity, fear disappears. Because fear is born from the illusion of division, you no longer feel the need to dominate, to defend, to prove. You begin to live in effortless compassion, in unconditional acceptance. You see that love is not something to give, it is what you are. And from that realization, life becomes a continuous act of devotion. Every step, every word, every breath becomes sacred, an expression of the one experiencing itself. This is the return, the circle complete. You began as pure consciousness. You forgot. You dreamed. You suffered. You sought. And now you remember. You are not the drop returning to the ocean. You are the ocean remembering it was never a drop. The journey was never about becoming more. It was about removing the veils that hid your infinite nature. When you live in unity, you live in grace. You stop resisting the flow of existence and start dancing with it. Everything becomes divine. Even the smallest detail, even the silence between breaths. The return to oneness is not an ending. It is the eternal beginning. The realization that love is the substance of all things, and you are that love, forever expressing itself through infinite forms. So be still for a moment. Feel the pulse of life within you. That is the heartbeat of the cosmos. That is the one remembering itself. And as you whisper within, let these words echo through eternity. I am not separate. I never was. I am the one. I am home. Chapter 36. The Eternal Now, Beyond Beginning and End. Time is the dream of the mind. It divides the infinite into past, present, and future. But eternity knows no such borders. The truth is simple and astonishing. There is only now. What you call the past is a memory appearing in the present. What you call the future is imagination arising in the same space. Everything that ever was, and everything that ever will be, exists here, in this timeless moment of awareness. The eternal now is not a moment in time. It is the absence of time. It is the dimension in which all moments arise and dissolve. You are that dimension. You are not moving through time. Time is moving through you. The universe expands and contracts within the stillness of your own consciousness. Birth and death, rise and fall, beginning and ending. They are waves in the ocean of now. They appear, they shimmer, they fade. But the ocean remains untouched. When you awaken to the eternal now, you step out of the illusion of becoming. You stop chasing the next moment and begin to rest in what already is. The mind constantly runs toward tomorrow, but the soul only ever lives here. Here is peace. Here is love. Here is eternity disguised as a single breath. In the now you cannot suffer, because suffering belongs to memory or anticipation. Pain may arise, but without a story, it passes like wind through leaves. The now has no edges, no center, no distance. It is infinite presence, the still point around which galaxies turn. When you rest in that stillness, you realize that every lifetime you have ever lived, every universe that has ever existed, is happening within you right now. The now contains them all. It is the canvas upon which creation paints its endless variations. It is the silence that gives meaning to every sound. It is the space that allows all movement. Everything begins and ends within it, yet it itself never begins and never ends. This is the eternal, not in duration, but in depth. When you are fully present, you step out of time, steps illusion. You enter the same dimension where all masters have lived, the timeless awareness of being. From there, life unfolds effortlessly. You no longer hurry, because there is nowhere to go. You no longer cling, because nothing can be lost. You no longer fear death, because you see it as another wave returning home. The eternal now is not a concept to understand. It is an experience to remember. Close your eyes. Breathe. Notice the space between each inhale and exhale, that silent gap. That gap is eternity. That silence is who you are. In that stillness, the whole universe breathes as you. And when you open your eyes again, the world remains the same, but you see it differently. You see that everything is happening now, always now. You see that the beginning and the end are the same point. You see that you were never born, and you will never die, because the one who observes all beginnings and endings was never part of them. That one, the silent witness, the boundless awareness, the eternal now, is what you have always been. And once you remember that, you are free, forever. Chapter 37. The return to light, the completion of the journey. Every journey, no matter how vast or winding, leads back to the same place. The light from which you came, the light that has guided you through lifetimes, the light that you have always been. The soul's path is not a straight line from darkness to illumination. It is a circle, a sacred spiral that returns you to the very essence you started from, only now with awareness. You left the source not by force, but by choice, to experience, to grow, to remember. You descended into matter. You wore the mask of separation. You tasted joy and pain. You forgot and searched, until finally, you began to see again. The awakening is not the end of the story. It is the remembering that there was never a story at all. Only light exploring itself through infinite forms. The return to light is not about leaving this world, but about seeing the world as light. Every tree, every person, every tear, every star, all made of the same luminous substance of consciousness. The light never left you. It was only covered by the shadows of thought, the clouds of fear, the veil of forgetting. Now, as those illusions dissolve, you begin to see what was always true. You were never lost. You were always home. The light does not judge. It does not demand. It simply shines, patient, eternal, unconditional. You are that light. You are not returning to it. You are awakening as it. Every step, every wound, every lifetime was a movement of light discovering itself through experience. The pain that once broke you has become the very crack through which your radiance now pours. The fears that once blinded you but have become the fuel for your compassion. You have learned to see with the eyes of the heart, to recognize yourself in all things. That is the true return. Not escape, but integration. Not leaving the world behind, but illuminating it from within. When you live as light, you no longer seek heaven elsewhere. You create it here, in every gesture, every breath, every act of love. You realize that the divine was never distant. It was always whispering through your laughter, crying through your tears, breathing through your lungs. The journey was never about reaching God. It was about remembering that you and God were never two. You are the source, dreaming itself as the seeker, only to awaken as the light that began the dream. And now, as the circle completes, there is nothing left to attain, only to be. Be the light, shine without effort, love without reason, live without fear. Because you are the dawn, after every lifetime sips night. You are the spark that never extinguishes. You are the eternal flame, in which all things are born, and to which all things return. And as you dissolve back into that infinite radiance, a voice echoes gently within your being. The same voice that called you into existence. You are home. You were never apart. You are the light. You are the whole. And in that remembrance, the journey ends and eternity begins.